The room had been built for men who believed fear was the strongest language in the world. Powerful figures sat around a long black table, surrounded by armed guards, expensive suits, and years of carefully protected secrets. Every person inside the room controlled something: money, territory, influence, or loyalty. Then the doors opened. A woman walked inside. For a moment, the entire room became silent. They expected hesitation. They expected fear. They expected someone who would lower her eyes and understand she had entered a world where mistakes could be fatal. Instead, they found Camilla Rhodes. She stepped forward with calm confidence, hiding the uncertainty she carried inside. Her expression remained controlled, her movements careful, and her eyes focused on the people watching her. Camilla had spent most of her life believing she was ordinary. She grew up without knowing the full truth about her family. The memories of her childhood were incomplete, and certain questions had followed her for years. Why had important details about her past been hidden? Why did certain names make people uncomfortable? Why did old documents connected to her family disappear? She was not searching for power. She was searching for answers. Camilla had always been intelligent enough to notice what others ignored. She studied people, recognized hidden emotions, and understood when someone was lying. Those skills helped her survive difficult moments, but she never imagined it would lead her into a secret meeting controlled by the most dangerous men in the city. Her search for the truth eventually brought her to Alessandro Vieri. Alessandro was not simply another criminal leader. He was the man other criminals feared. His organization was built on loyalty, discipline, and absolute control. People respected him because he rewarded loyalty and destroyed betrayal. His name carried enough weight to silence entire rooms before he ever entered them. When Alessandro arrived at the meeting, every person present adjusted their behavior. Except Camilla. She remained standing. That alone caught his attention. The meeting was supposed to discuss a growing threat against Alessandro's empire. Senior members of his organization were present, along with powerful figures who had spent years protecting their own interests. The atmosphere was tense. Every person in the room understood that one wrong decision could change the balance of power. But Camilla did not enter to negotiate. She entered because she believed the truth about her past was hidden somewhere inside that room. Adrian Vieri, Alessandro's younger brother and closest strategist, immediately questioned how she had gained access. He saw her presence as a potential threat, not a coincidence. Alessandro noticed something different. He saw someone who walked into danger without pretending she was fearless. Real courage was not the absence of fear. It was choosing to move forward while carrying it. Camilla's confidence made everyone curious, but her reason for being there remained unclear until she revealed a piece of information that changed the entire atmosphere. A detail about Alessandro's past. A secret that only one person should have known. The enemy Alessandro Vieri believed had disappeared forever. Alessandro Vieri had spent years defeating enemies, controlling powerful people, and surviving betrayals from those closest to him. He understood fear. He understood ambition. He understood the dangerous games people played when power was involved. But Camilla Rhodes was something he could not understand. She had entered his world surrounded by men who could destroy her future with a single decision. Yet she had not shown weakness. She had not begged for protection or attempted to impress anyone. She had simply walked in with the truth she believed she carried. And that made Alessandro curious. Most people who entered his presence wanted something: money, influence, protection, a favor that would eventually become a debt. Camilla wanted none of those things. That was the first reason Alessandro allowed her to remain alive. He needed to know why. The information she revealed during the meeting was too specific to ignore. She knew details about past events that were supposed to be buried forever. She understood pieces of a conflict that only a few people had survived. Yet she did not behave like someone sent to attack him. She behaved like someone searching for something she had lost. Adrian Vieri noticed a difference, but he remained suspicious. As Alessandro's younger brother and strategist, Adrian had survived long enough to know that appearances could be dangerous. A person who seemed innocent could still carry hidden intentions. He began investigating Camilla's background, searching through records, old connections, and forgotten names. The more he looked, the more questions appeared. Camilla Rhodes was not connected to the criminal world in any obvious way. She had no history of violence, no desire for power, and no signs that she was trying to manipulate Alessandro's organization. Her only pattern was searching for answers. Alessandro watched her carefully. He noticed how she reacted when people discussed money and influence. Unlike others, she did not become impressed by wealth or intimidated by status. She challenged ideas he had accepted for years. To Alessandro, trust had always been earned through loyalty and proven through sacrifice. Camilla believed trust came from honesty, even when the truth was uncomfortable. That difference fascinated him. The woman everyone expected to be afraid became the one person willing to question him. As days passed, Alessandro discovered small clues about Camilla's past. Old records showed missing information about her childhood. Certain names connected to her family had been deliberately removed. Someone had worked hard to hide where she came from. The discovery created a strange conflict inside Alessandro. Part of him believed Camilla was dangerous. Another part believed she was a victim of secrets she never created. For the first time in years, Alessandro found himself protecting someone before knowing whether she deserved protection. That decision confused everyone around him. But the truth waiting in Camilla's past was far more dangerous than anyone expected. While reviewing old files connected to her family history, Alessandro discovered a name he believed had disappeared forever, a name connected to the greatest threat his empire had ever faced. Camilla Rhodes' past was not just mysterious. It was connected to the man Alessandro Vieri had spent years trying to destroy. The woman Alessandro Vieri had started trusting carried the blood of the man who had almost destroyed everything he built. For years, Alessandro believed Nathaniel Cross was a chapter of the past, a dangerous chapter, a painful chapter, but one that had already ended. Then Camilla Rhodes entered his life, and suddenly, the past was standing in front of him again. After discovering the connection between Camilla's history and Nathaniel's name, Alessandro ordered a deeper investigation into her background. He wanted answers, but part of him feared what those answers would reveal. Camilla had spent years searching for pieces of her childhood that never made sense. She remembered only fragments, a few places, a few faces, a feeling that something important had been taken from her. Her life had always contained unanswered questions. Why had certain family records disappeared? Why had people avoided discussing her early years? Why did her mother leave behind so many unfinished stories? The answers were hidden inside documents that had been carefully protected for years. With Alessandro's resources, old records were uncovered. Forgotten files revealed that Camilla's childhood had been surrounded by secrecy. Names had been removed, dates had been changed, and important details had been deliberately erased. Someone had wanted her past to disappear. As Adrian Vieri continued investigating, he discovered references to Nathaniel Cross connected to Camilla's family history. The name immediately changed the atmosphere inside Alessandro's organization. Nathaniel was not just another enemy. He was a man who had challenged Alessandro when his empire was still growing. Their conflict had shaped the entire balance of power in the city. Nathaniel was intelligent, ruthless, and impossible to predict. Unlike other rivals who wanted money or territory, Nathaniel wanted to prove he could destroy Alessandro's entire legacy. The war between them had cost both sides loyal soldiers, valuable alliances, and years of peace. To Alessandro, Nathaniel represented the greatest betrayal and the most dangerous threat he had ever faced. Now the possibility that Camilla was connected to him created a conflict Alessandro never expected. His instincts told him to be cautious. His emotions told him Camilla was not responsible for the actions of the man who came before her. That was the difference between revenge and justice. Adrian noticed Alessandro's hesitation. For the first time, the man who always made decisions without doubt was struggling between loyalty to his family and feelings he could not ignore. But there was someone else who seemed to know more than he admitted, Victor Langford. As a senior member of Alessandro's organization, Victor had access to old information that others had never seen. His silence suggested he already knew pieces of Camilla's story. The question was why he had hidden them. The more Alessandro searched, the more dangerous Camilla's existence became. Her identity was not just a personal secret. It was a connection to an old war that had never truly ended. Then, Camila discovered something hidden among the forgotten documents. An old photograph. A young woman stood beside a man whose face she had seen only in records and rumors. The man Alessandro considered his greatest enemy. Nathaniel Cross was not just connected to her past. He was her father. The hardest truth for Camila Rhodes was not discovering who her father was. It was discovering that her existence was connected to the man Alessandro Vieri had spent years trying to destroy. For her entire life, Camila believed the missing pieces of her past were simply forgotten memories. She never imagined they were hidden because the truth was dangerous. Nathaniel Cross was not just a name from an old conflict. He was the reason powerful people had kept secrets around her. The discovery changed the way Camila looked at everything. The unanswered questions from her childhood, the missing family records, and the warnings she never understood suddenly had a meaning. Someone had not forgotten her past. Someone had buried it. As Alessandro investigated further, the history between him and Nathaniel became impossible to ignore. Years earlier, Nathaniel had been one of the few men powerful enough to challenge Alessandro's growing empire. Their conflict was not just about territory or money. It was about control. Nathaniel believed power belonged to those willing to take it at any cost. Alessandro believed loyalty created something stronger than fear. Their opposing beliefs created a war that damaged both families and changed the lives of everyone connected to them. When Nathaniel disappeared, many believed the conflict had ended, but Camila's existence proved that the final chapter had never been written. The question that troubled Alessandro was not whether Nathaniel was dangerous. He already knew the answer. The question was whether Camila had entered his life as part of Nathaniel's unfinished plan. For the first time, Alessandro questioned his own judgment. Was Camila truly searching for answers? Or had she been sent to destroy everything he protected? The suspicion created distance between them. But Camila refused to let someone else's actions define her. She understood why Alessandro struggled. She understood the fear surrounding her name. But she also knew one truth. Blood could explain where someone came from, but it could not decide who they became. Camila began proving that she was nothing like Nathaniel. She rejected manipulation, refused to use fear as a weapon, and showed that she wanted the truth more than power. Unlike her father, she did not want to control people. She wanted to understand them. Alessandro slowly began seeing the difference. The woman standing before him carried Nathaniel's blood, but she carried her own values. However, the revelation of Camila's identity created a new danger. People who once feared Nathaniel's return now saw Camila as a symbol. Some believed she could restore his influence. Others believed eliminating her would remove the last connection to his legacy. Her bloodline had turned her into a target. Hidden enemies began searching for her, hoping to use her identity for their own advantage. Inside Alessandro's organization, tension grew as questions about loyalty spread. Someone knew more than they admitted. Someone was watching Camila's every move. And before Alessandro could uncover the truth, a secret message left his organization. A message containing Camila's location. Someone inside Alessandro's own empire had revealed where Nathaniel Cross's daughter was hiding. Alessandro Vieri had spent years searching for Nathaniel Cross, studying his movements, destroying his alliances, and preparing for the day their conflict would finally end. But now the greatest reminder of his enemy was standing in front of him. Camila Rhodes, the woman carrying Nathaniel's blood, was no longer just a mystery connected to the past. She had become someone Alessandro wanted to protect. That decision confused everyone around him. In the world Alessandro controlled, enemies were removed before they became threats. Mercy was considered a weakness, and emotional attachments were viewed as dangerous mistakes. But Camila was different. She had not chosen her father. She had not chosen the war created before she was born. Alessandro understood that punishing her for Nathaniel's actions would make him no different from the man he had spent years fighting. So instead of turning against her, he placed protection around her. He increased security, moved her to a safer location, and ensured that anyone searching for her would have to go through his organization first. For the first time, Alessandro was using his power not to destroy someone. He was using it to protect someone. Camila struggled to understand his decision. She had expected anger, suspicion, and rejection after the truth about her father was revealed. Instead, She saw a man fighting against his own instincts. Alessandro did not fully trust her past, but he trusted the person standing before him. Their relationship slowly changed. The walls between them began to weaken as Camilla saw the man beyond the reputation. Behind the feared Mafia king was someone who carried years of responsibility, betrayal, and loss. And Alessandro discovered that Camilla was not the weapon he feared. She was the person who reminded him that not every connection had to end in betrayal. Adrian Vieri also began changing his opinion of Camilla. At first, he considered her the biggest risk to their family. He believed Nathaniel's daughter could never be separated from Nathaniel's legacy. But as he watched her actions, he realized something important. Camilla was fighting against the same darkness that had created her. She wanted answers, not control. Truth, not revenge. That difference slowly earned Adrian's respect. However, not everyone accepted Alessandro's decision. Enemies who feared Nathaniel's return began searching for Camilla. They believed her existence could change the balance of power, and capturing her would give them access to something far more valuable than money. Her identity had become a weapon in the hands of people who wanted chaos. Meanwhile, Victor Langford's behavior became increasingly suspicious. The senior member of Alessandro's organization had always been loyal, but his actions suggested he was hiding something. He avoided certain questions about Nathaniel and seemed too familiar with details he should not have known. Camilla noticed it. She realized that the danger was not only outside Alessandro's empire. Some secrets were buried among the people standing closest to him. As she searched for the final pieces of her father's history, Camilla discovered hidden records that had been protected for years. The truth inside them changed everything. Someone close to Alessandro had known the full story about Nathaniel Cross all along, and they had deliberately kept the final secret hidden from her. Some secrets are buried to protect families, but some secrets destroy everything they were meant to save. For years, Alessandro Vieri believed his war with Nathaniel Cross began because of ambition. He believed Nathaniel wanted his empire, his influence, and the power that came with controlling the city. But the truth was far more complicated. The rivalry between them was built on betrayal, hidden choices, and a decision that changed both families forever. Before they became enemies, Alessandro and Nathaniel had once respected each other. They understood the same dangerous world and knew the rules required to survive inside it, but their beliefs were completely different. Alessandro believed loyalty was a foundation of power. Nathaniel believed fear was the only thing strong enough to control people. Eventually, their differences became impossible to ignore. A conflict that started with disagreements turned into a battle for control. Alliances were broken, trusted people disappeared, and both families suffered losses that could never be repaired. But the biggest secret was the reason Nathaniel disappeared. He had not simply lost. He had planned his disappearance. Camilla discovered that her father had hidden her identity because he knew his enemies would use her against him. He believed keeping her away from the Mafia world was the only way to protect her. However, Nathaniel's protection had also created another problem. Camilla grew up without knowing who she truly was. She spent years searching for answers that her own father had intentionally hidden. The discovery changed the way she viewed everything. Nathaniel had not only been a dangerous man, he had been a father who made terrible choices while believing they were necessary. But understanding someone's reasons did not erase the damage they caused. Camilla realized she did not have to become the person her bloodline expected her to be. She had a choice. She could follow Nathaniel's path of revenge, or she could create her own future. That decision became the moment Camilla truly separated herself from her father. She stopped seeing herself as a victim of someone else's war. She became someone capable of ending it. Alessandro watched her transformation carefully. The woman who first entered his meeting searching for answers had changed. She was no longer only trying to understand her past. She was ready to face the consequences of it. For Alessandro, that proved something important. Family names could carry history, but they did not control destiny. For the first time, he trusted Camilla completely. He shared information with her that he had hidden from almost everyone. He allowed her to see the weaknesses of his organization and the danger surrounding his empire. That trust created a new alliance, not between enemies, between two people who had both lost years because of secrets created by others. But as they uncovered more of Nathaniel's final plans, Camilla discovered something that changed everything. Her father's revenge was never truly aimed at Alessandro Vieri. Alessandro was only part of the plan. The real weapon Nathaniel had spent years preparing was Camilla herself. The most dangerous battle was not between enemies. It was between love and loyalty. For years, Alessandro Vieri believed he understood every threat surrounding his empire. He knew how rivals attacked, how traitors behaved, and how power could corrupt even the most trusted people. But he never expected the final battle to come from the secrets of the past. Nathaniel Cross had disappeared, but his influence had remained alive through hidden alliances and carefully planned moves. His final strategy was not about destroying Alessandro directly. It was about creating a situation where Alessandro would have to choose between his empire and Camilla Rhodes. Nathaniel knew that Alessandro's greatest weakness was the one thing he had spent years avoiding: attachment. The Mafia king who had built his life around control had finally found something he could not treat as a weakness. He found someone worth protecting. As Nathaniel's remaining followers moved against Alessandro's organization, the truth about the betrayal inside the empire finally surfaced. Victor Langford was not simply hiding information. He had been working with Nathaniel's remaining network for years. Victor had believed that Alessandro had become too emotional and too willing to abandon the old rules of power. He saw Camilla as a threat to everything the organization represented. His loyalty had never been to Alessandro. It had always been to his own vision of control. The revelation damaged the foundation of Alessandro's empire. The person standing closest to him had been secretly preparing for his downfall. But Alessandro refused to make the same mistake Nathaniel had made. He refused to see Camilla as a tool. She was not a connection to an enemy. She was not a weakness. She was the person who had shown him that power without trust meant nothing. The final confrontation forced Camilla into an impossible decision. She could walk away and protect herself from the dangerous world surrounding her, or she could remain and face the consequences of a war created before she was even born. For years, other people had decided her identity. Nathaniel decided she was a weapon. Alessandro's enemies decided she was a threat. But Camilla finally understood that neither side had the right to define her. She chose her own path. She used the knowledge hidden inside her father's secrets to expose his remaining plans and protect the people who believed in her. Meanwhile, Alessandro risked everything. He placed his organization, reputation, and future in danger because protecting Camilla mattered more than keeping his position untouched. The man who once believed emotions created vulnerability discovered something different. Sometimes the person you protect becomes the reason you survive. As both sides prepared for the final confrontation, Nathaniel believed victory was already guaranteed. He believed Camilla would become the final piece of his revenge. He believed Alessandro would lose everything because of the daughter of his greatest enemy. But Nathaniel had made one mistake. He never truly understood Camilla. When he finally faced her, expecting obedience and revenge, Camilla revealed the truth he never expected. She was never the weapon he created. She was the person who could destroy his entire plan. The woman who entered the Mafia meeting as a stranger became the only person powerful enough to change the Mafia king. Camilla Rhodes had walked into Alessandro Vieri's world searching for answers about her past. She never expected to become the person who would rewrite the future of his empire. The final confrontation between Alessandro and Nathaniel Cross was not simply a battle between two powerful men. It was the end of a conflict that had destroyed two families for years. Nathaniel believed his bloodline gave him control over Camilla's future. He believed the pain of the past would force her to choose revenge. But he misunderstood the one thing that made Camilla different. She had spent her entire life searching for the truth, not power. When the final pieces of Nathaniel's plan were revealed, Camilla exposed the hidden records, secret alliances, and betrayals that had protected his influence even after his disappearance. The man who had spent years controlling others through fear finally lost control of the one person he believed he owned, his own daughter. Nathaniel's downfall came not because someone stronger defeated him. It came because Camilla refused to become the person he wanted her to be. She rejected the anger he carried and chose a different path, The same blood that connected her to him did not determine her choices. Meanwhile, Victor Langford faced the consequences of his betrayal. The man who believed he could manipulate Alessandro's organization from within discovered that loyalty built on personal ambition never survives when the truth appears. His secrets destroyed the trust he depended on. The organization that once respected him turned against him when they learned he had sacrificed their future for his own vision of power. After everything was revealed, Alessandro faced the most important decision of his life. He could continue the cycle that had controlled his world for decades. Revenge, fear, endless conflict. Or he could choose something different. For years, Alessandro believed a powerful leader had to remove every threat completely. But Camilla showed him another kind of strength, the strength to break a cycle. Instead of destroying everything connected to Nathaniel, Alessandro chose to rebuild his empire around loyalty and trust. He remained powerful, but he no longer allowed fear to define every decision. The Mafia king who once believed emotions were dangerous discovered that the right person could make him stronger. Camilla also accepted her identity. She was Nathaniel Cross's daughter. She could never change that. But she finally understood that identity was not created by blood alone. It was created by choices. She was not her father's revenge. She was not Alessandro's enemy. She was Camilla Rhodes, the woman who walked into a room full of dangerous men and refused to become afraid. Years passed, and the story of Camilla became something people repeated across the city. Not because she was the daughter of Alessandro's greatest enemy. Not because she entered the Mafia world as an outsider. But because she became the only person who changed the heart of the Mafia king.